Hey friends, how's it going? Let me just make sure the stream is live before we start. I believe it is. I think we're doing good. All right, let's do it. So this might be a little bit of a YouTube no-no, but I'm hoping that this stream will have some appeal for two different audiences. Hey, it's the Rocket Noob, and here we usually talk about building and flying model rockets and high-power rockets. But tonight we're actually going to be talking about my podcast. I'm going to be doing some recording of segments of my podcast, The Model Rocket Show, at themodelrocketshow.com. So, on the one hand, I'm hoping that my core audience of people who are into hobby rocketry and who maybe listen to the Model Rocket Show podcast will be interested in this behind the scenes look at the Model Rocket Show. And I'm also hoping that anyone who joins the podcast, I'm also hoping that anyone who joins the stream who maybe is interested in getting involved in podcasting and just wants to see somebody do it, do some recording, and maybe, I can answer a few questions about how we do the podcast. So that's what we're going to do tonight. First of all, for those who have not heard the show, it's an interview show, and we do our recording over the internet. So I'm not going to do any interviewing tonight. What I'm going to record is the intros, outros, and ad copy. But to let you know the way we actually do our interviews, we do them remotely. The main office or main studio is in Cleveland, Ohio. I am just outside of Boston, and we use a service called Riverside, and that enables me to connect with the studio in Ohio and our guest, wherever they may be, to also connect with the studio in Ohio. The recording is saved in Ohio, but basically what's happening is the website, riversidefm.fm, I think it is, records my audio on my machine and then uploads it to the main studio and records the guest's audio on their machine and uploads it. So it's what's called a double ender. Double ender in podcasting is when you're recording on your own machine, someone else is recording on their machine, so that if you lose a connection or if the internet's kind of bad, you still both have good audio. Now, normally, if you do that with you record on your machine and someone else records on their machine, what happens is then you have to edit that together. It can be a little awkward. With Riverside, the way we do it, it just uploads everything and it takes care of that. I believe. And then what happens is CG, the guy who created the show, the producer of the show, one of the hosts of the Rocketry Show podcast, sends me the file and I edit the interview. I take out the awkward pauses, and et cetera. And then I insert what I'm recording tonight, which is intros, outros, and ad copy. And then I edit that all together. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what we got here. This is Audacity. This is the software that we use, and it's free open source software, audio software, and you can download it and works great. There are more sophisticated things. There's like, what's that? GarageBand, I think some people use. But Audacity is fine for what we use it for. We were going to upgrade to something more sophisticated a few years ago, and then we thought, what's the point? I mean, it does what we need it to do. And you can record music, you can record podcasts, whatever kind of audio stuff you need to do, you can record with Audacity. As I say, there is more sophisticated stuff out there, but this is free and it's easy. So you find it at this website, audacityteam.org, and you just download it and you open it up. And let's take a look and see what it looks like. So this is the interface, the Audacity interface. And so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to add a new mono track right here. So I need to make a track. I'm doing mono because I just have one microphone. I don't need any kind of stereo effects. I'm going to check my audio setup and make sure that my recording device is my audio interface. So I'm using an audio interface so that my microphone can connect to my computer. So if you're doing podcasting, you either need to have a USB microphone, or you can have a regular microphone with a regular microphone jack, and it needs to connect to something called an audio interface. And that takes the sound, converts it into digital so that your computer can use it. The one that we have is by Behringer. It's a few years old, and so now it's only $75. And it's but it works great. There are newer ones, and I've linked to a couple of options in the description of the video. Feel free to check that out. Like I say, the Behringer box is probably a cheaper option. It's 4.5 stars on Amazon, and it works great. You can plug in several things to it. I've recorded music on it, and it works. It works fantastic. So I do need to check my levels because I think one of my earlier streams. Let's see. I think I got my mic turned up pretty well. One of my earlier streams, when I played it back, it was a little quiet, so I don't want that to be the case. But on the box, there is a little light. It's a little green light, and I can see it when I'm talking. One of the things you want to make sure you're not doing is clipping. So if the light goes red, that means you're getting distortion. You're being too loud. Either you're too close to the microphone and talking too loud, or, well, there's too much volume. There's too much going on. But it looks good. And so what we're going to do is we're going to record an intro here for the Model Rocket Show. Now, usually what I do here is I don't really write these out unless there's something very specific I want to say. I might write out some bullet points. But for the most part, I just take a run at it. I don't even really prepare. I just take a run at it and I start talking. And if I stumble over words, either I will start over completely if I stumble over too much, or I'll just stop. I'll go back a sentence, and then I'll redo that sentence, and then I'll edit that all together. So what we're going to do is we're going to record tonight, and then if there's time, I'll do a little bit of editing. I'm not going to bore you with too much editing, but just to show you how it works. Now, when I was in the radio, I wouldn't just take a run at it. When you are doing radio, you don't want to stumble over your words. You don't want to do a lot of stammering. You don't want a bunch of ums and uhs and likes, which sometimes when I'm really tired, that's the way I talk. Case in point. Anyway, so usually when I would do breaks on the radio, when the music is playing, I sort of figure out what it is that I want to say, and then I will sort of go over it and over it and over it out loud while the music is playing until the music stopped. And it'd be like, 92.3 WTTS, that is world-class rock from U2. We got some Rolling Stones on the way, and then I would insert some factoids. A lot of the patter became kind of like you kind of knew what you were going to say. You just sort of changed it up a little bit here and there, and that's with radio. With podcasting, you can mess up as much as you want, and you can re-record. You can either keep recording and just chop things out, or you can just ditch your whole recording if you hate it. So usually I'll just go, and the only time I will completely start over is if I start to go off the rails and say things that just are like don't fit with what the show is about, or maybe I'm giving away too much, or I'm saying something I'm not supposed to say. Like occasionally there's, I'll talk to a guest and they'll say something that, this is off the record. We don't want to talk about this. And, that's fine. The podcast is supposed to be fun. Or if I'm like really tired and, I'm talking and I'm like, I'm sounding kind of negative here. I don't like this. I will start over. But for the most part, I just go for it. So, let's do that. So first of all, I'm going to start my recording here, and you should be able to see the waveform here on the screen as I speak. And so we're just going to go for it. Hey friends, it's the Model Rocket Show at themodelrocketshow.com. I am the Rocket Noob, and hey, how have you been? Yes, we have been on a bit of a hiatus for a couple of years. We had a lot of stuff going on. We were a little busy, but we are back, and we are back with Ray. Now, Ray is not his real name. He did not want to become internet famous, I guess, but he's using a pseudonym. But Ray is going to talk to us about safety, specifically safety to do with materials that we sometimes use in model rocketry, and definitely that we use when we get into high-power rocketry. We are going to be talking about things like... Okay, so I'm blanking for a second. I'm not going to stop talking. I'm just going to remember what we're talking about. Epoxy, carbon fiber, epoxy, spray paint, fiberglass, carbon fiber. Materials such as epoxy, spray paint, carbon fiber for some of your more advanced techniques, and, of course... Sorry, it's been a long day. Fiberglass. And of course, fiberglass. Ray, I'm going to edit out those ums. This is the third time I've tried to do this stream, by the way. So, starting over. Not starting over. Now, Ray has quite a story to tell, and he has some tips to share with us. specifically with regard to working with these materials. I think it's a really fantastic conversation, very important to I think it's a really fantastic conversation, very important to know how to safely treat these materials and handle these materials. So we're going to be talking with Ray starting in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And that was good enough. The other thing is, since I have done this stream before, and it did not do so well the other night, we had some technical glitches and I was never live, I've actually recorded all this before. But what we did here I thought was great, and I thought was really informative, and rather than just say, well, I guess it's done, I wanted to do this again. So this material might be better than what I recorded the other night. It's probably not. I don't think so. I think the stuff that I did the other night was great. But I am possibly going to use this. I'm possibly going to use that. I'll just go back, and when I'm editing everything together, I will decide what's the best take. Next, we're going to be doing ad copy. So usually I don't stop. Sometimes I will stop and I'll do a new track entirely, but it's easier right now, especially if I keep everything in order. It's easier for me to just keep going. So usually what I'll do is I will pause for a long period, and then that long silence on the waveform will tell me, okay, here's where I can cut, and that'll help me find what I was doing more easily, so I don't have to listen to everything I've recorded. Now, I'm recording a lot here, but it's okay. I'm just going to go to my ad copy. Now, we have a sponsor for the Rocketry show, for the Model Rocket show, I should say. Sponsor for the Model Rocket show is E-Rockets, based in Dayton, Ohio. They are a model rocket supplier, great company. If you've never checked them out and you are a model rocketeer, you definitely should. They are not sponsoring this video, but they are a sponsor of my podcast. So I have some bits of copy that we read here. First of all, there's the intro bit. Then there is a featured product, which I have to pick each time. And then there are a couple of different closing bits that I can read. So the first thing I need to do is I need to go to erockets.biz and find a product that I want to talk about. And I know exactly which one I'm going to talk about because it's one of my favorite mid-size, mid-power rockets. It's a bring back from Estes called the Nike Smoke model rocket. It is a sounding rocket, a sounding rocket scale model. It's nice and big. I've got one back. Well, it's behind me someplace. You can't see it right now, but it's big. So I'm going to talk about that, and because I have experience with it. So here we go. Little sip of water. One tip that I would give anyone who is doing... Ooh, I'm starting to clip there. One tip that I would give to anyone who is doing podcasting is before you do any recording, brush your teeth, because there's nothing worse than having, your mouth that just like you're going to hear mouth sounds in the microphone. Nobody wants to hear that. And you want to have a clean mouth, have water, and just so you're not, you don't, if I start noticing the feeling of my mouth during a show, it's like I can't even function. So here we go. eRockets.biz is your home for unique model rocket kits, as well as the world's largest selection of... eRockets.biz is your home for unique model rocket kits, as well as the world's largest selection of model... Okay. eRockets.biz is your home for unique model rocket kits, as well as the world's largest selection of rocket parts from Semrock. In business since 2009, eRockets.biz has a wide selection of your favorite kits, as well as their own versions of popular out-of-production models many of you have come to enjoy over the years. One that I want to tell you about, and I'm really excited that this is coming back, they have the Estes Nike Smoke model rocket. I'm not talking about the model rocket. The one that I'm really excited about, this is a bring back from Estes Pro Series line. It is the Pro Series Nike Smoke, a nice, huge 3-inch diameter rocket with a 29mm motor mount. You can fly these on E's, F's, and G's, composite motors. You could even put an H in there. You build it nice and strong, and you could do a level 1 certification with this. as a high-power Rocketeer is very exciting. And I tell you what, I love mine. I have one built, and I take it to every launch. If I'm having a bad day at a launch and I'm getting things stuck in trees, or rockets are just disappearing over the horizon on the wind, or I'm just having some launch failures and just having a bad day, I bring out this Nike Smoke. I put it on the launch pad. It works great every time. Flies straight as an arrow. I always have a great launch with this Nike Smoke. As a matter of fact, it has become the one that I finish every launch with because I know it's reliable, and I just love it. I just love it. I have a spare just in case I ever lose it, or I break it. And somebody tried to buy it off me at one point because Estes wasn't making these. Well, guess what? You can get yours now at erockets.biz for $69.99. I'm going to stop there, and then I'm going to go to the next bit. I'm going to edit out that little breath that I took in after $69.99. There are also plenty of other rocketry items to choose from, as well as educational rocket kits and supplies, air rockets, water rockets, and so much more. erockets.biz certainly has enough kits and supplies to keep you busy in your workshop for a long time to come. So check out erockets.biz today to learn more. erockets.biz. If rocketry scares you, buy a train set. All right. Whew, that was not so bad. Sometimes the ad copy, which I tend to do late at night, like I'm doing now, I stumble over it a lot. That was not too bad. I'm definitely stumbling more tonight than I did the other night when I tried to do this stream. But that wasn't too bad. Anything where the long bit where I was rambling about the kit might be a little too long. I can always trim bits of that out. So now that we've done that and we have done the ad copy, we are going to do just the outro. I'm going to leave a long space, and then I'm going to start. All right. Thanks so much to Ray for talking to us here on the Model Rocket Show. Really sorry to hear about all the stuff you've been through with regard to those chemical sensitivities, but thank you so much for bringing this to our attention and letting us all know, the steps that we can take to protect ourselves, because, you don't want to be driven out of this hobby that you love and completely alter your life because you've messed around with too much epoxy and haven't taken the proper precautions. So, and here I'm just trying to think of the next thing to say. It's okay. I can run things together. With editing, you can actually make things sound like you are not doing what I'm doing right now. All right, so that is the Model Rocket Show, and thank you very much for your patience with our little hiatus there. Not going to be another 2 years before the next episode. We will have another one coming out before you know it. All right. We will have another one coming out before you know it. And in the meantime, build well, fly safe, and I'll catch you next time. Okay, so then I stop that. First, I'm going to save because I don't want to lose anything. You can see I've already got one saved here, so I'm just go 02. I'll just call it 02. All right, so now we've only been streaming for about maybe 19 minutes. I'm going to just check the chat real quick, see if anybody has any questions. And nope, doesn't look like it. Stream is healthy. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and we're just going to do a little bit of editing, and I'm going to keep this pretty short. But the first thing I want to do is I want to play it back and make sure you can hear everything. So let's check that out here, and you should be able to see yeah, you can. Okay, so I'm going to find what I think is the beginning. Is this the beginning? Probably not. Hey friends, yes, it is. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to split this clip, and I'm going to delete this whole bit. Delete. There we go. All right, so let's just hear what we've got so far. I'll just make a few edits, and then that'll be it. If you have any questions, you feel free to drop them in the chat, and I will take a look and see if anybody has any questions. Hey, friends, it's the Model Rocket Show at themodelrocketshow.com. I am the Rocket Noob, and hey, how have you been? Yes, we have been on a bit of a hiatus for a couple of years. We had a lot of stuff going on. All right, so this isn't terrible, but I do like to take out some split clip. That wasn't the worst. I've had long ones, and we're going to delete it. And then I always, if I make a cut, I like to go back and make sure that that the two pieces play together naturally. So just go back a little bit. On a bit of a hiatus for a couple of years. We had a lot of stuff going on. We were a little busy, but we are back, and we are back with Ray. Now, Ray is not his real name. He did not want to become internet famous, I guess, but he's using a pseudonym. But Ray is going to talk to us about safety, specifically safety to do with materials that we sometimes use in model rocketry, and definitely. All right, so let's see. I'm going to zoom back in here. So I've got a stumble, and that's not a big deal. I'm going to stumble right there. I'm going to split right there, split clip, and definitely that we use when we get into high power rocketry. We are going to be talking. All right, so you can hear that I've got some plosives there. When I said high power rocketry, I was either pointed too much into the microphone, and that's not the best mic technique, but it's okay. I don't feel the need to redo it. You know, it's this is not every podcast has to be Radiolab. Not everyone has to be Ira Glass. And so use in model rocketry, and definitely that. So I will also say that you've seen me make some edits here, and so a couple of these you might think, that doesn't really sound natural. Like I can hear the edit. Believe it or not, and I can too. Believe it or not, if somebody doesn't know that you've made the edit, a lot of times they don't notice. Even if they do notice, even if it's sort of like a slightly off transition, it's okay. I mean, people expect things to be edited. But for the most part, people are not going to notice. So let's see what we got here. Use in model rocketry, and definitely that we use when we get into high power rocketry. We are going to be talking about things like. Okay, so I'm blanking for a second. I'm not going to stop talking. Okay, so I'm going to split the clip right there. Okay, so I'm blanking. Hear me babble here. Stop talking. I'm just going to remember what we're talking about. Epoxy, carbon fiber, materials such as. Okay, I'm going to split right here. I'm going to delete this whole bit and then go back and see where we're at. Where were we? We are going to be talking about things like materials such as. Okay, that's a little awkward. We are going to be talking about things. Okay, I can split it right here. I can get rid of things because we are going to be talking about materials. We are going to be talking about things like material. Okay, so this might be a little too awkward. Let's see. We are going to be talking about materials such as. Okay, so that's a very unnatural. Right. We're going to be talking about materials such as. That's really awkward. So if that were the only take I did, I would re-record that because that's just a little too not quite right. However, I've done this 3 times before, so I definitely have an intro that I have an intro that will sound fine. So let's see. Sorry, it's been a long day. Rather than editing everything, I will show you then one last thing. And then I think we'll take questions. And so, starting over. So let's see here. First of all, let's see if there's anybody in the chat there. Oh, Kevin's Models and More. Audacity looks awesome. Hey, Kevin. Welcome back. Finally got the stream to work properly. All right, let's go back here. And let's see what we got here. I'm just going to, so I recorded everything as one long track, and then I went into the ad. But what I'll usually do is I'll put the ads on a separate track. So the other thing is, since I have done this, so let me skip ahead and see if I can't find that ad copy. Let me shrink this down a little bit. Sponsor for sponsor for the Model Rocket Show is eRockets. So I have find a product that I want to talk about, and one tip that I talked a lot here, didn't I? All right. Yeah. So when I start doing, you can see here in the waveform, eRockets.biz is your home. So when the waveform gets a lot bigger, I am doing my radio voice, and that is how I know that that's my ad. This is me talking to you, and then this crowded bunch of nonsense here is me being radio guy. So what we're going to do is we're going to split right here. We're going to find the end of that bit before we go to the outro, which I think might be here. I'm going to stop there, and then I'm going to go to the okay, so I'm going to split it right here. And now this is just to keep things separate, because what will happen is I've got the intro, I've got the show, which is already edited into multiple sections, and I'm going to split it in two. So I want to make sure that the ad goes, it's going to be intro, then part of the show, then ad, then part of the show, then outro. So just to avoid confusion, I like to, and again, I'm not a professional editor here. I like to make a separate track. So I'm going to add a new mono track, and then I'm going to drag this bit down here so that when I edit things, I know track 1 is the first audio, track 2 is the ad, track 3 is going to be the second half of the show. Well, track 3, in this case, I'm sorry, that's not entirely true. So right now I have track 1 is intro, track 2 is ad, track 3 is outro. When I put everything together, I can put everything on one track if I want to, but just so that I can keep them separate. So if I have to work on one thing instead of another, I know which is which, and I can rename these if I want to. Let's see, where do I rename them? Name, yeah. So intro. So that's now called intro. That track is called intro. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not a professional audio engineer. I'm not a professional, editor or anything. But I have done radio production. I've done production of commercials and everything. And as you can see, the basics are not that hard. Like, there's a lot of functionality in Audacity that I don't use because I don't necessarily need it or I don't know how to. But I mean, it's got some cool stuff. So, like, for example, let's see what this sounds like. Nobody wants to hear that. And yeah, you picked a good part, didn't I? But you know what we can do is we can put some reverb on that. I mean, you can do all kinds of fun stuff. And then we've got, nobody wants to hear that. And yeah, you want to. So, you can do all kinds of fun stuff. You can even reverse it. Let's do some backmasking here. Why not? I grew up in the 80s. So now it's reverbed, but we reverbed it before we flipped it. So it's preverb, and this is just me goofing around at this point. But if you're doing a podcast that's like, I don't know, science fiction or spooky stuff or whatever, I mean, you got all kinds of cool effects you can play around with. Or if you're recording music, which I've done on this, not going to play it for you because A, it's a copyrighted song. It was Leonard Cohen, and B, I don't have that much. I'm not that brave. I just recorded something for myself. Anyway, that's kind of it. If there are any questions, let me just quickly check the chat real quick and see if there are any questions before I sign off. Yeah, Kevin. It says, Kevin's saying it's fun to see how you do the editing. I've had to edit audio to remove background voices in some of my launches. That's, yeah. Oh, yeah, keeping it kid-friendly. Yeah, some of those old Rocketeers definitely definitely don't watch their mouths sometimes. All right, well, I think that's it. I think this stream finally worked out. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, we are going to have another episode of the Model Rocket Show coming out soon. I probably should be done with it, but I was trying to do all of this on a stream so that you could see it before I finished everything. So we are going to have episodes of the Model Rocket Show coming out soon on the modelrocketshow.com on all your podcatchers. I'm going to be recording some more YouTube content, and of course I'm going to be doing some more live streaming. Now that I've figured out how to do the live streaming, it's really fun, and I feel really confident about it. I feel really confident. I feel really comfortable doing it. I feel more comfortable doing live streaming, oddly, than doing pre-scripted stuff, because I can just sort of like wing it, and it's just me and you hanging out, and I kind of like that. Anyway, so I think that is going to be it. Let me just check my software here. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you got something out of it, and I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.